to Mom's Kitchen, where we're in my mother's kitchen and I'm allowed to cook. Today we're going to make some awesome Christmas cookies, but we can't just do that in our ordinary clothes and with no music on. Cue the music. We should probably get changed to be festive if we're going to do Christmas cookies. Of course, what's up the season without an ugly Christmas sweater? So today you're probably wondering, which Christmas cookie are we going to make? Traditional Christmas cookies? I think not. Today we're making my family's famous farmhouse cookies. Now these cookies probably was made by somebody else before, but we love these cookies, and it has a secret ingredient. So when we get to that point. So if you look in the description down below, you're going to see the entire recipe and exactly what you're going to need. So you kind of already know what the secret ingredient is, but shh, don't tell anyone else. Anyways, let's get started. Okay, make sure that you get all your ingredients out that you need. I have them all right here, plus my, of course, measuring cups and measuring spoons. And let's roll up our sleeves and wash our hands. If you don't have a mixer like this, it's not a big deal, but if you do, make sure that you use the paddle function, so that way your cookies don't come out really, gross. That's the best way to describe it. Okay, so what we're going to put into the mixer right away is all the wet ingredients. So your butter, which I have out over here, and 2 sticks of butter equals a cup. And make sure that you left your butter out for a little while. A couple hours is usually good, especially if you're in a warm house this Christmas. It should just come off really good if you left it out for a little while. Put that over there for throwaway later. Next, we're going to put in our sugar. This is part of the wet ingredients because the dry ingredients is going to be mainly your flour and stuff. And we need 2 cups of that. Now, most people would say, oh, it's fine if you just shake it a little bit, but not in this household. Make sure you get an oversized spoon and a knife that has a flat edge. And what you're going to just do is add enough to make a heap over your measuring cup. You're going to take your flat part of this, your knife here, and just kind of run it along here for your sugar. You can do that same thing for the flour, so you can keep those 2 things with you. Next, we're going to add our 2 eggs. Now, most people, they're brave enough to add it right to the bowl. I don't like doing that because you never know if there could be shells or if the eggs are bad. So grab a little bowl and just crack them on up. No, don't tell them a funny joke, like a dad joke. Don't do that. That won't crack them up. There we go. They look good. Whoa. Add them to the pot. I'm just going to set the shells in there so I'm not using it again, obviously. Okay. Now we're just going to actually blend these things. And then we're going to add the sour cream. About 2 is when I blend it, or what setting I blend it on. And if you don't have a blender, just whisk it on up with a whisker. While that's blending, I like to get my flour kind of ready. Because there's a lot of flour that goes into this. reason why we scoop out the flour with the spoon here is so that way it has some air in there. Now you don't want to just scoop it on up with your actual like measuring cup, because that will put too many like not pockets of air. And this is how we're gonna like kind of like sift the flour in a way without sifting it. That should be good for now, anyways. We'll add the sour cream in here in a second, but you want to always make sure that you scoop your flour into your cup, because if you don't, you're going to end up with too much flour. It's not going to be the correct measurements, basically. 3. And the reason why we're putting this into another bowl here is because we're going to add all the dry ingredients at once. Four and a half. Now, normally if I'm making this recipe, after I'm done with an item, I would go ahead and put it away. But to save some time, I'm just going to set them aside. I like making less mess, basically, when I cook. If I'm not going to use it again, it goes right back into the cupboard. Of course, your counter is going to be a little dirty because no one's perfect. You're going to end up with some flour and sugar on your counter. That's okay. We can clean that up later. Onward to the sour cream. And the reason why I like doing the dry stuff first is because you're going to use the same cups for your sour cream here. And now you don't have to worry about your cup being all dirty, basically, from the sour cream. Of course, they have to package this like forks and knives here. Come on. Here we go. I have to throw that away right away. Okay. Now for the sour cream. It gets a cup. I'm going to use that same spoon that we were using earlier because we're not going to use it again. To scoop in our sour cream into our measuring cup. This time I'm kind of making sure that's kind of packed in there, but not too packed. The best function of this particular blender, that you can push it back and add things to it. I'm sure that's lovely to hear. Okay, good. cream's done, obviously you want to put that away right away because it's going to needs to be cold. Okay, and it gets soda and baking soda into the dry ingredients here, plus also salt. And I always use the flaps on the baking soda to get the perfect amount. For the baking powder here, usually they have a flap, but if they don't, I just use the rim of the actual lid. And salt's always a tricky little thing, so I always do it offside. Tap it on the table, and it's good enough. And then I just shake it all over in there. You don't really want salt to be in one spot, even when you're shaking it in there. Grab another handy spoon, unless you already did this part, it's fine. But we're just gonna kind of mix that together. And then for our vanilla here, we're gonna add it right now. And we're done with those, and I can just toss them into the sink. Okay. Put the blender back down, lock it into place, turn her on. You're gonna need a spatula a little bit just so that way you can get all the ingredients down into your blender here. If you have one of these, obviously. And you're still gonna need to kind of bring it up from the bottom, so it's always good to have a one of these. Spatula, there we go. I couldn't think of the word. I'm terrible. Anyways, to the next set, which is actually adding our dry ingredients. Now, actually, we don't need to do that again. We can actually leave it locked. So we're going to add this slowly to this part. If you're using a spoon, I like to use 4 to 5 big scooping heaps. Turn that on a low setting, and you can keep adding as soon as it's kind of more mixed in there. And I'm going to bring you a little bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about. So give me 2 seconds. So you see how it's kind of still has a little bit of flour in there. You want to wait a little bit and then add some more. Wait a couple minutes. Add a little bit more. Just keep adding your flour until you don't have any more flour stuff anymore for your basically dry ingredients here. There's going to be a point where I have to put the whole bowl in there, but You'll see that here in a second. You just keep adding it until you have to pour the whole rest of the bowl in there, like that. And you just add the rest like that. That's all there is to that. And use your spatula here to get the rest up off the actual like beater, like I just did, and off of your bowl. There's a lot of flour still on the bottom here, which is not surprising. I might actually need to get a real spoon here. Let me get the rest of this off of the beater here. Okay, and now we have it into a bowl that we're going to basically cover and put into the fridge. Or what we can do with this particular dough is we can use it right now as well. You want to basically cool this if you're going to roll them out for about 3 hours, I think it is. I usually do it the day before and then I roll them out the next day, so that way there's not so much work to do. I usually do 2 batches. That's the reason why I kind of do that. But you can use it like this too. I have a handy tool for this. Where's my handy tool? So basically, after you get it all done, you can put it into a bowl like this and cover it and put it into the fridge for about 3 hours. But you don't have to do that. You can take a spoon and actually scoop it up and drop them. and make them into cute little snowballs. We're only going to do like maybe 2 of those. But if you want to cool them for about 3 hours or a whole day, usually I make a lot of batches, so I usually like to have a day where I make the dough and then make the cookies themselves, the actual baking part. So like about that big for the little ones, a quarter size. This is going to go into the fridge with a cover on it. I think we have a cover for that particular bowl. With some TV magic here, I'm going to pull out another one that's ready to go. And at this time is when you want to actually preheat your oven to 350. Because you don't know when exactly you're going to do this particular batch. This was made last night, so we have everything ready. We have some really cool little things to go and put on the counter. So let me get everything ready with the rolling pin, the flour, and the little sheets I use to actually, and all my cutters that I'm going to use right now. Okay, now that we got everything ready here, we can actually start on the rolling out. What I like to do is I have these really cool little things that are new to us. There's just these like vinyl like sheet pads that you can actually cook cookies on, but I like using them to roll out, like the Autobots. That was a really bad joke, I'm sorry. Okay, so now we have washed our hands again, obviously, and we're going to go into actually making some cutouts. Now, I just picked a few of them, but you can pick more if you wish. You always want to get your cutouts ready with some flour on it. Got my rolling pin cleaned off now. Had no choice. Then sprinkle a little bit of that flour onto your surface. Use some for your rolling pin. Spread out your flour. Now, I'm going to really roll up my sleeves here because this is where the messiness kicks in. Am I recording? Yes. Okay. Now, I'm just going to kind of give my hand a little bit of flour on it for both of them. So that way when I take out my dough here, my hands won't stick to the dough too much. And we like our cookies thick. We like our cookies thick. So I'm going to show you really quick. Oh my gosh. this is pretty good in thickness, as you can kind of see on the side here. It's a pretty good 1/2 inch. And now we can actually place our cutouts on there. I like putting as many as I can and then taking away the excess. Easy and breezy. Like CoverGirl. Then they just easily come out because we floured our little cutouts here. Beautiful. I think I'll make one of each kind. And then I'll show you what they look like after they're done baking. So we need to make the tree yet. Enough, plenty thick, perfectly sized, and voila. Now our baking sheet is ready to go into the oven. As you can kind of see, they're relatively good far apart. You don't need to prep the sheet in any way. It should be fine. And we just gotta wait for our oven to reach 350, and then we bake it for 15 to 18 minutes in the oven. So as soon as I get it in there, I'll let you guys see that. Okay, now we're gonna put it into the oven for 15 to 18 minutes, but I'm actually gonna put them in there a little bit less time, like 10 or 12 minutes at first. And you can always cook them longer, you can't cook them less. Into the oven they go. And set. Now we're going to wait for 12 minutes, and if you wanted to, you can always get your frosting ready at this time, which I am not going to do right now because I don't have all my stuff ready yet, so I'm going to get that prepared. Alright, and 12 minutes was good enough for the cookies, and they are done. Look how nice they look. Okay, and I have my mom helping me out with the frosting because I never make it good. So she's just going to make a little bit for the 6 cookies that we have right now. Normally, the frosting would get a full stick of butter, some milk, and some powdered sugar, and vanilla. The vanilla only gets like a teaspoon, right? Right. And there's really not a good recipe for it, but I do have a recipe that will be in the link in the description as well, so that way you can check it out for the frosting that we're making right now. See, she keeps adding until the consistency that we want it at is, well, where we want it at. Not too liquidy, not too thick, just right. goes for it. I would not. And sometimes we like to use almond extract as well, but most of the time we use vanilla. I like almond though. And it's perfectly done. So now, here comes the fun part. The fun part is always decorating. And there you go, that's all there is to it. Of course, the more detail you get, the more time it's going to take. And thank you all for watching. You guys have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure you hit subscribe and the bell icon so you won't miss out on quality content